So we go into the bathroom. Those guys had snuck into the venue and were climbing through the ceiling like in Breakfast Club, and climbing over the ceiling tiles, and the ceiling tiles had given way, and they'd fallen through the ceiling onto the stall of the bathroom underneath them.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.
Mark Hoppus is here.
Yeah.
We need more cowbell.
Oh my God.
That's great. It's so morning radio with the bell and everything. I love
It's the most embarrassing thing ever.
Yeah.
I
mean,
can't.
do you have a slide whistle too?
Probably.
You do
He
for
does.
real?
Do you really?
Don't mess with my slide whistle.
Okay.
Here it
God.
comes. He's in his
God.
box of tricks
I
over
hate,
there.
I
hell's
hate
going
this
on over
stuff.
there?
It's so hokey. Put that crap away. What are you doing?
Oh, nice. Okay, that'll do.
That'll do.
It is a typical hokey show.
That's great. I love it.
I just stopped wearing bowling shirts. So, Mark Hoppus, of course, blink-182, and I'm doing my best not to fangirl in your face because we're such huge fans.
Oh, thank you very much.
Absolutely. The story we all thought we knew until now. We're reading your book called Fahrenheit 182, and wow, writing a book is an interesting decision to make.
It is.
Why? Why did you do this?
My manager asked me to. Actually, my manager's been saying forever that I should write a book, but I didn't really think about it until I was sick. And when I was sick, I was talking with a therapist, and she said, you should write down what's happening and write like nobody's ever going to read it, and just write. And I found it really therapeutic. And so afterwards, I was like, I enjoy this process. And then it turned from writing as therapy from being sick to writing about my band and my best friends and the great things that we've gotten to do and how lucky we are. And then that went into the band breakup and into like the part about being sick. So it was really great.
And speaking of, I mean, you don't hold back. I mean, you were talking about Tom DeLonge and your interesting, sometimes volatile relationship with him. You just say it right here.
Yeah.
And did he read it and go, hey, man, is that really what you thought about me?
No, because there's nothing in the book that I hadn't talked with Tom about or said in his presence. And Tom and I are in a great place. Like as a band, Blink-182 is in a really awesome place right now. And so I think that, and I wrote the book with the intent there would be no demons in it. Like I didn't want there to be bad guys. And so when I was writing the book, even when I was writing about fights that we've had as a band, I would write about other person's point of view because I'd want to be fair about it. And so that was kind of healing for me as well, to write about arguments that were in the past, like 20 years ago, that I was still maybe holding on to some grudges about, and then trying to write it from the other person's perspective helped me deal with it.
Now, if we listen to the book on Audible, right? A lot of times if I'm listening to someone who does their own book, they kind of go off page for a minute and give you like a side note. Do you do that at all?
No.
Okay.
No, I stick. No.
You stick strictly to the book.
No,
Absolutely not.
I stuck very strictly to the book, but I did write a song for the beginning and the outro of it. So the audiobook has like a little like musical intro and a little musical outro.
cool.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
That is so cool.
Was there anybody that you had to reach out to before the book came out and say, hey, just a heads up, example, Melissa Joan Hart, there's something about you in this book?
It was more like my family, like talking about my family stuff and and things that happened in the past like that. The things about like the band and stuff, I didn't feel like I needed to warn anybody about because it's all fun and joy, and there's no like I got you or whatever. It's all love.
So Mark Hoppus, of course, this book is called Fahrenheit 182. You talk about growing up with your sister in California.
Yep.
Right. And Scotty, by the way, Scotty B. What year did we see Blink and Green Day?
2001.
At the Garden, I think. What?
Oh, wow.
That had to be 99 or 2000 somewhere.
It was
in
like
there.
2001, I think. Like the Pop Disaster Tour, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And even back then, I was the oldest person in the Garden. But so Scotty was listening to you talking about your parents, and how you would hear them fighting in the house, and you said you actually started crying on the way to work today.
I did, because it resonated with me a lot, because you and your sister reminded me a lot of my kids, because I got divorced,
Right.
And I didn't realize that you're the one that spilled the apple juice in Adam's song.
That was me. I spilled the apple juice in Adam's song. I was hearing my parents fight, and I was sitting outside their bedroom on the carpet drinking apple juice, wondering what the heck is going on with my family. This doesn't sound right. This sounds awful in there. These are my parents. They're supposed to love one another, and I can hear them yelling. And I like coughed or like moved or something, and then the yelling stopped. and I heard footsteps coming toward the door. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be in so much trouble for sitting outside the door while they're arguing. And so I got up and ran, and I kicked over the apple juice in the hall.
And that was it.
That was it.
And the song. Born.
That's right.
Wow.
You know, you also talk about, I think it was during pandemic, you were diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking a stage 4 lymphoma.
Diffuse large B-cell lymphoma type 4A.
The hell?
What?
That was what I had.
You had to be complicated even with that.
Yeah.
But you said, if I'm not mistaken, that knowing that the mortality is like number one at your headline at that point, that it was actually freeing.
It was.
To know that. Well, you tell us.
I don't know. It's like if you found out the day that you were going to die, you would know. And I felt like that was what I was told. I was told actually that I had a 60% chance of getting through cancer, never having to think about it again, which is great odds. I had a friend who was sick at the same time with pancreatic cancer and sadly passed away. So the type of cancer that I had was curable, but it was going to be really difficult. And somehow I was like, okay, well, I've worried so long about, mortality and how things are going to end and thought about my own death. This is great morning radio. Anyway, Jesus.
Hey, hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, there we go.
Cue the cancer.
Yeah.
Do the whistle.
Yeah.
The whistle.
Slide whistle, hold on.
Yeah.
Cancer. Well, okay, please continue that thought.
But there was a freedom in that where I was like, okay, well, this is the fight now.
Yeah.
And so it really crystallized things, and like friends and family came, and really, like my whole world shrunk down to like this tiny little crucible of love and friends and family and fighting this disease.
See, this is why you need to read this. Because you go to a blink-182 concert and you see the joy, the fun, people just effing around on stage and having a great time. But when you get to know you a little more, that's incredible. Everyone has a book in them. And I wrote my book, and I learned more about me writing this book. Talk about that. I mean, how do you see yourself differently post-book writing?
Post-book writing, honestly, writing a book about myself made me realize that it's not about me, that it's about the people around me and the people that I love and the band and what we've created and that whole world. And hopefully it's made me more humble and whatever. I think I've always been humble, but definitely writing a book makes you think about what am I in the world and what do I have to give and what do I need to do less of, what do I want to do more of.
Have you carried that same freeing feeling post-cancer with you, or did you just go back to like, now I'm good?
Both.
Yeah?
There's a real thing at the end where you're like, if I get over this cancer, I'm going to go out, I'm going to live every day with love, and I try and do that, but then also like I just get bummed on things. It's like I'm glad that I get to take everything for granted again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best part of being cured of cancer is like you get to go back to complaining about stuff. It's great.
Yeah. We've had a couple guys here who, battled death and they came out on the other side and they're just, back to their old selves.
Yeah, that's the best part.
That's Froggy up there in Jacksonville. He's had 2 brain aneurysms.
Oh my gosh, 2 brain aneurysms. And Nate had 2 strokes.
Yeah.
Strokes.
And you're exactly right, though. That's what you do. You kind of first, you're like, well, I'm going to be different. And you are different. And it's like an accident on the road. You put both hands on the wheel, you're going to drive really good. And then 10 minutes later, the radio's blasting, windows down, and you're hauling ass again.
Yeah.
You get back to life eventually.
Yep. Love it.
What's that, Nate? Scream it loud. I can't hear you.
So we have a text that just came in. Oh my God, Mark could be a DJ.
Yeah, right here.
He is.
Who's after school?
After School Radio on Apple Music. You can check it out. I am a DJ. We have a show on Apple Music. It's called After School Radio, and me and my friends do it, and it's awesome.
You may borrow our bell if you want.
Yeah, I got it.
But not the
You
whistle.
need a slide whistle for sure.
When you finish your book, right? You're done. You've written it. You go to hand it in. You hand it over to be published. Is it nerve-wracking? Do you question everything you put in there? Do you say, oh my gosh, I should have left that out. I shouldn't have done this. I should have done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like recording an album where it's the hardest part is turning it in and saying this is a complete work now. But what I did is I thought, well, this isn't a bookend. This is a milestone. Like, this is where I am today. When I turned in the book, that's how I felt that day. And then life goes on. So this is really just like that's where I was when I started writing the book 2 years ago. And obviously, Blink has gone on since this and done 125 shows, and we're recording a new album and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, but there's always like I look back and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have changed that word, or I wish I would have included that story or whatever.
Yeah.
Mark Hoppus is here. His memoir is called Fahrenheit 182. It's available right now. Listen to it, read it. We love listening.
Yeah.
Hearing your voice. Did you ever find yourself getting not choked up, but just more emotional as you tell your story and you're vocalizing it and you hear the.
Yeah, when I was doing the audiobook and I was talking about being sick and I was reading in the book, I have these journals that I was keeping while I was undergoing chemotherapy and I was really at my low point, and I'm reading thoughts that I had for myself while I was really in the dark, and that made me choke up when I was reading the book.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
But
where's the whistle?
You have a very soothing voice, so I feel like listening to your Audible would be a very soothing experience.
It's a nice experience, I hope. I haven't listened to the audiobook because I dislike the sound of my voice that much that, it's like when you hear your voice back when you leave a message for somebody and you go, oh, that's what I sound like.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
you have a great voice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's very low tones.
Yeah, we love it.
It's kind of rattling my scrotum.
Well, hello.
Kind of.
Get the whistle.
So, you made reference to the fact that other bands thought you guys, Blink-182, was a joke.
Right. Always and forever, since day one.
Why? I mean,
Because that's what we do when Tom and I get on stage. We try and outdo one another, say the more ridiculous thing, have the more fun, write the better song, whatever it is. And so forever, people just thought of Blink as the joke band because we go on stage. And also, we had funny videos, and What's My Age Again is kind of a joke premise for a song. But we also had songs like Adam's Song and really heartfelt things, and Tom's always written really heartfelt lyrics. And so I think that people that grew up listening to Blink knew that there was a duality to our band, that we love to have fun, but we also try and write the best songs we can and try and write the best music that we can.
So you and Tom and Travis, a relationship, basically. We have the same thing. I mean, we have to come in every day. We have to be on stage whether we like it or not. Mm-hmm. People paid for the tickets. I guess this is a free show.
But they pay with their time and their
The relationship you had with Tom, though, it definitely had its peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And talk about that. Talk about what it was like. I mean, a partner.
Right. Well, I met Tom. I had just graduated high school and was in college, and Tom was graduating high school at the time. And if you think about it, the people that you were friends with in high school, like, we are grown men with families and children of our own now. What friends that you had in high school are you still friends with today that you've worked with and lived with and toured in a van and slept on people's floors and everything else? And just humans going through life, you fall in and out of stuff. So, Tom and I were at different points in our lives while we were in the same band together. And, Tom wanted to stay home and I wanted to go on tour and Travis wanted to go on tour, and we were having kids at different points. And there's like a tear in that. There's like a difference. When you start and you're all in a van together, there's a unity of purpose. All we want to do is play shows, be in this van, be in this band, and go and have fun. But then you get married, or then you have a relationship, then you have kids, and you have mortgages, and you have all this other stuff of pulling your time away. And I think that the balance that each of us had in our lives was just different at different times.
I know you talk in one of the chapters is about how you and Tom, actually, your lane, you were both in at one point, started to separate in different lanes. And you were a little confused. He wanted to go do another project, other music, and you just weren't communicating at all.
Yeah.
Did you think it was over at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Was
There were
the
several
band
times
done in your mind?
Yeah, there were several times when I thought, like, I'm not going to talk with Tom again. And,
don't even speak to him.
You didn't speak, when Tom left the band the first time, we didn't speak for like 5 years, and same thing the second time. So there were numbers of years where I just wouldn't even talk with Tom, and there was so much acrimony on both sides. But then the cool thing is that when we got back together both times, the first time was after Travis had his plane crash.
Right.
And the second time was after I was sick with cancer, that Tom calls up, and it's like none of the bad things even happened at all. It was like he just snapped back into best friend mode, and that's how Tom has been. Like ever since whatever it was 4 years ago when Tom texted me out of the blue and said, hey, I'm directing this music video for Angels and Airwaves, and he sent me a photo of him at a music video shoot that he was directing. And of course, it's him in front of a bunch of models in their underwear.
Of course.
And I reply, haha, that's awesome, man. Hey, by the way, I have cancer and I start chemotherapy. And that was the first real text that I had exchanged with Tom in a number of years. And immediately my phone rings, and it's Tom. And I pick up the phone and say hello, and he says, how are you? And so the past, 4 years just disappeared, and it was just back to square one, back to friends.
Wow. And do you think, like, now, like, when you guys first started, it was like the end all be all. That was, you had to be successful. You wanted to make the money. You guys are in such a different place right now that it's got to be more fun.
It is fun. And that was the reason that we got Blink-182 back together as the three of us, is because that's what's fun. And we sat down in early 2022, and we were like, okay, what do we need for Blink-182 to be awesome and be what we want it to be? Because Blink-182 is the three of us. And, you know, thank God for Matt Skiba when he came in, and thank God for Scott Rayner when he came in. But the soul of Blink-182 is Travis, Tom, and me. And so we sat down and we're like, we just want to do fun stuff. We want to be creative. We want to keep writing new songs and touring and playing music for people and having a great time. And so we're like, we're not going to do anything that we don't want to do. And we've kind of stuck to that, and it's served us well.
Good.
Was there anything that didn't make the book? Actually, Nate said you were telling a story about Detroit.
Tell that story.
And I said, tell me the story. You said no. Let Mark tell the story.
Great story.
Oh, I mean, it was just, this was, you know, whatever, probably almost 20 years ago. We were sitting backstage in Detroit, and we were hanging out, the three of us in a dressing room, just backstage doing nothing. And we'd been there for like an hour after sound check. And all of a sudden, out of the bathroom comes these two guys, probably in their like early 20s, very late teens. And they look at us and they go, hey, what's up, guys? And they just walk out. We're like, what the hell? They've been in that bathroom the whole time? So we go into the bathroom. Those guys had snuck into the venue and were climbing through the ceiling, like in Breakfast Club, climbing over the ceiling tiles. And the ceiling tiles had given way, and they'd fallen through the ceiling onto the stall of the bathroom underneath them.
Oh, my gosh.
Broken the door off the stall, broken the toilet off the wall, and then just sat there in fear, not knowing what to do, and finally gave up, and they walked out. Security was grabbing them and kicking them out. We're like, no way. Those guys are sitting side of stage for the whole show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the energy you want
That
right
is
next to the
awesome.
stage.
Yeah.
I love that. Crazy stuff on the road. I mean, I'm sure the list is so long, there's no way to even remember most of it. But
we used to call our tour manager. We used to call our tour manager in the middle of the night at a hotel and say, this is the front desk, and we have an urgent fax for you down here. We need you to come down right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And then we'd call down to the front desk and say, this is Blink-182's tour manager. I need a fax. I'm expecting one. I'm coming down there, and if you don't have it for me, I'm going to kick your ass. And so our tour manager would go downstairs and say, do you have a fax for me? And the person working the desk would be, I'm so sorry, sir. We don't have a fax for you. I don't know what to tell you. He's like, well, why'd you call me up and wake me up? I didn't call you and wake you up. What are you talking about?
Yes, I love it.
Did you guys have universal rules for the tour bus, like no crapping when we're all on here?
No, but when we first started off, when we first had a bus, Scott and I still smoked cigarettes, and we would, like, everybody except for Tom basically smoked on our crew, and it was just the dirtiest, smelliest, awful bus. Like, imagine that stank, that just like dank smoke for, so awful.
Didn't you guys all have the same stalker at one point?
We did. There was a stalker in San Diego that my wife kept seeing around town, and I was recording. We were in the studio, and she called up and said, that lady who I see around town is out in front of our house right now. And so she called the police, and the police came, and the lady took off, and the police came back, and they said, hey, we can't arrest this lady because she hasn't done anything illegal, but she has a notebook with pictures of your house from 6 months ago, like license plate numbers written down, times of when like lights would come on and off in your house, or pictures of Tom's wife at the grocery store, like really strange stuff.
Whoa.
Where is she today?
How's that
Is she
not
downstairs?
I don't know.
Elvis, you had one of those, remember?
Bring her in. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We did, yeah.
But that was really unsettling, and it was after that we moved into a gated community, and I was like, whoa, being famous is weird.
Have things, because now we read and hear so many things about people being on stage and someone launching a bottle at them. Has touring changed for you guys in that way at all, or is it just still kind of the same?
I mean, thank God there's a lot less shoes being thrown on stage, because I never coming out of the punk rock community, like every show there'd be shoes and T-shirts and like belts, and like everyone's trash all thrown up
What
on
about
stage.
underwear?
I'm like, what about like how do you walk home with no shoes?
Right.
How do you leave a show with no shoes?
Will they throw both or just one? Because I have a
There was
question.
always
for the
just one shoe.
I knew it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
weird.
I have so
People's
many
wallets
questions.
and
Yeah.
phones and
What
cameras.
about bras and like underwear?
Lots of bras, lots of underwear. But bras are expensive. I've had to buy my wife bras before. I'm like, why? This is, whatever. This is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So looking back, I mean, what year did you guys first start touring? I mean,
We started touring really in '95 was like our first tour.
Wow, so look at that. In all these years that have passed, I mean, did it go fast, or was it been a slow?
It's insane. I still remember the smell of our van. It was not good.
Doesn't sound good at all.
No, it wasn't. It was like fast food trash. That smell of like stale French fries and Mexican food, and this like.
Do you miss that?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, because something tells me, however you're transporting yourselves around these days, it smells much better.
Oh, it does. Yeah. But there's nothing like the joy of just hitting it. Because back then there were no cell phones. There was no internet. There was no way to get a hold of us. When we left to go on tour, we had literally a Thomas guide and a stapled together thing like this, just a bunch of papers with like, this is the venue address. This is what time you need to be there. And you're getting paid $50.
Wow.
And then nobody could get a hold of us. So if I had to call home, I had to call home collect from a payphone and hope my mom was home to pick up the phone and be like, how's everything?
Wow.
So how did your mom and is your father still alive?
Yeah.
So how did they respond to your success in the band? Did they get it ever?
They did get it. My mom was very supportive early on. My dad was always a little more practical. My dad didn't really understand that Blink-182 is successful until we played The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Wow.
And Richard Simmons was one of the guests.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hold on now. This is one of the chapters I pulled aside.
Yeah. That's the picture right there.
Look at that.
So we were all hanging out in the green room after sound check, before we played, and Richard Simmons, the workout guru, comes into our room, just bursts open the door. Blink-182 comes in, gives me a kiss, gives Tom a kiss, Travis a kiss, huge personality, and I'm talking. And so we had invited all of our families to the show. And I'm asking Richard Simmons for workout tips. And he said, I don't need to give you tips. I'm old enough to be your dad. And my dad goes, actually, I'm his dad. And Richard Simmons turns around and goes, Dad! And gives my dad a huge kiss on the cheek. And my dad was like, well, if Richard Simmons knows who my son's band is, then they must be successful. And that was really the moment.
Wow, it took Richard Simmons to like pound it home.
I feel like for me, it was Donny Osmond. Like, my mom listens to our show, but when I put Donny Osmond on the phone with my mom, that's when my mom's like, yeah, you got a cool job.
That's nice. That's a good one.
Yes.
I'm still waiting on that moment for mine. Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself writing this book?
What did I learn about myself? That's the first time I've been asked that. I don't know that I learned a whole lot about. Like I said, it's not about me. That I love my friends and family. I love my band, and that's what's really important to me. It really crystallized what's important to me in this world, and it's actually a lot smaller than I thought that it was. It's not stuff. I mean, I like things. It's not any of that, but it's like the joy of being on stage or writing a song or being with my family and my friends. That's it. That's really all that I learned.
Can I ask a question that has nothing to do with the book?
Yeah.
What are you using to keep your hair looking like that?
I'm just glad I have hair back at all.
Yes.
At this
But
point,
it stays. How does it stay?
Well, there's product in it right now, but not a lot. Literally, like my haircut now is such that like I can wake up in the morning and just kind of like wash it off, and it's just this big thing. So I have to kind of just shape it into something.
Okay, so that's not like gorilla snot or anything.
It's not anything cool like that. It's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my husband had cancer as well, and
I'm so sorry.
Chemotherapy, the whole thing. Lost his hair, hated life.
Yeah.
And he talked about what it was like going through chemotherapy, and he said it's like worms are crawling around in your veins. And,
yeah.
And I remember one day he called me, and I don't know if you can relate, you probably can. And he said, I'm standing outside the door. I don't want to walk in. I can't do this today. I can't. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I said, Alex, your decision, it's your decision. You can walk through that door and do what you need to do or not.
Right.
And it's a gift you have to give yourself, and it really just messes with your head, your psyche, everything is messed with when you go through that. Mm-hmm. But you come out the other side, and you are a different person.
Yeah, after my first, so I had to undergo 6 rounds of chemotherapy 3 weeks apart.
Wow.
And after the first round of chemotherapy, when I was at my nadir, which is like the worst part of the low point, when the chemotherapy drugs have burned out so much of your body, so much of your cells and everything, that there was a point where I was sitting at the breakfast table with my wife, and I looked at her and I said, I don't think I can do this. I don't know that I can go through with this. And she looked at me and she said, so what does that mean? Are you going to kill yourself? And it sounds cruel to say it aloud, but it was really helpful to me, because I was like, wait, what am I saying here? Am I just going to give up? Am I just going to let this take me? And so at that point I was like, no, I'm not going to give up. Not at all. And so I'm assuming it's the same thing as your husband, where they're standing outside and they're like, I don't know if I can do this. And there's a point where you're like, no, I have to do this not for me, but because I love the people around me so much that I can't let them down.
Well, look, congratulations on getting this book out. And how many people have texted and said, I'm buying the book?
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yay.
We'll take a percentage of that. You choked me up.
Thank you.
Mark Hoppus, of course, Fahrenheit 182. And we love everything you've brought to us over the years. I love that you're still bringing it. And
Thank you.
It's all new and fresh and fun.
Thank you. That's all that I want to do is keep creating and keep doing stuff that I love. I'm so glad to be here with you guys.
Congratulations. Scary, push the button. Push the button, Scary. Thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.